Qlik Dork back again, and today, my friends, I am so happy to be here for Dork Cast episode 34. You can see the sun shining through my data cathedral. It's a beautiful day here in Gainesville, Georgia. This episode is going to be dedicated to one of my friends, and I've called this a life of data. I admire this guy so much because, like me, his life pretty much revolves around data. So let me go ahead and get started with his intro slide here. My friend is Kabir Rob. I met Kabir many years ago through Qlik community when I was a Qlik customer. And of course, we've stayed friends and we even became blog partners on Data on the Dot Rocks, which was a phenomenal collaborative environment that I was blessed to take part of. Kabir here, as you can see, and you can read these things, has basically lived his life revolving around data. And oh, by the way, at least he's not a dork like me. He's just a data guy because he also coaches and plays cricket, and he really loves Legos. And I know a lot of you out there have those Lego things going on. So Kabir, I understand, my friend, that you are actually in Lund, Sweden right now at this very moment, and you are giving up the fika for today at the Qlik headquarters in order to be here with us.
Yes, you were right, my dear friend. But first of all, thank you very much for having me here today, and obviously been giving me the chance to speak to you and join your Dork Cast. Yeah, I'm lucky to be here today with the Qlik officers. We are gathering together all of the luminaries and all of the partner ambassador to actually speak to the Qlik team, finding out what's on the roadmap, what's on the agenda, what's coming new, and also Qlik is here to listen to our feedback, what we are hearing from our customer, and how to improve the product better, how to deliver success for our customers, for Qlik customers, essentially.
Dude,
So yeah, I'm
I
honored to be
gotta
here.
tell you, when I see all the pictures of you luminaries and partner ambassadors over there, it really makes me jealous. I was a Qlik luminary at one point, and the minute that I signed my paperwork with HR for Qlik, my luminary status went away. But one of the pictures that I'm touched with each year is the pictures of Mike Capone being there. How important is it for you guys that our CEO gives up the CEO stuff he needs to do to drive a company of our size to fly all the way across the pond and be there? And I know he's not coming for Feek, although that was one of my highlights when I was there. Is that important to you guys that we actually support these programs?
Oh, it really does. It really does. It makes a lot of difference. And it just shows how much Qlik is passionate about delivering this level of support to their customer, to their partners. And it's not just Mike Capone, it's also all of the senior management team. Like Chris is here today and he was just doing a Q&A session before. And, we could ask anything. We can speak openly. We can ask any questions we like. We can give our feedback without having to hold back. And this is amazing. I mean, as you can tell from from the introduction slide, I've been in the industry for long enough. I have worked with so many different technology vendors, and I've never seen this level of engagement from any other companies. I have to say, Qlik has been doing this for years. It's not just something new they've started, and the way Mike and the senior management engages with this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it touches my heart when I see him actually supporting that. Because those things I know would mean a lot. You guys are giving up your time to be there. And I think it is incredibly powerful that you get to see them and hear from them, but more importantly, that they get to hear from you directly. Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
you're
not
right.
me
It's a
saying
two-way
I talked to
conversation.
Kabir in a text message and Kabir thinks we should do this. It's they get to hear directly from you, and more importantly, they get to hear about the customers that you're working with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's definitely two-way conversation. It's not just a one-way conversation. And that's the great thing about this type of event. You come in, you speak to freely and openly, and you discuss various different topics. And a lot of the improvement and features that we see coming into Qlik happens because of this type of events. Be, Customers alike, customers and partners alike, we're coming into this type of events. We give our feedback, and based on those feedbacks, we see a lot of features coming onto the Qlik platform. So it's amazing, and we all appreciate what Qlik does for us as for the partners and also for the customers.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. So one of the things that I thought was really neat that I really admired that you did a few years back was you started a kids data literacy program.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah,
and
kids in
it
data.
was fantastically boring information just written out just like adults literacy, and kids just had to read a book. Was that kind of what you did?
Uh, yes and no. Is The idea behind it was to actually engage with them. I mean, they do plenty of literacy at school and at home. They're focused on reading books and learning from it. I wanted to take a step back. I wanted to make things a little bit more fun for them. Wanted to gamify the learning process for them.
Wait, you
So that's how
gamified it?
the
It wasn't boring documentation to read?
no, it was well. There's an element of reading, right? But I come from gaming background, and there wouldn't be a solution without some type of game thrown into the mix. So it's been gamified, and it's been wonderful to go through that journey with my son, my eldest, and obviously from there on, we've just rolled it out to so many different schools. We've rolled it out to lots of different places around the world. And what surprises me is till this very day, it's still being used. And yeah, it touches my heart when I find out that people out there somewhere in a classroom sitting there and actually doing the workshop and going through it. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And for those of you who haven't seen it, it would be Mike Tarallo's favorite thing in the world. He probably has the high score, um, because what you
It did
actually
for a long
did,
while.
your background was actually in gaming, and you built a game that they could play. It would keep the scores, and then the data literacy part of it was then charting who was at the high scores and different ways to look at that data, which I thought was really cool, because that would be fun. And for some of us that really miss those pixelized graphics days, man, it would be
Yeah, you could say that again. You could say
it
that
would be
again.
fun too. But what is it you're doing now, right? That was I think that was kind of a side thing for you. What's the main thing that you really do?
But main thing, just as ever, I'm working with data, right? That's the key thing. Working with data, that's my passion. That's what I like to do. I'm obviously working for a consultancy company called Tahola. I'm their head of technology there. So most of my day nowadays evolve around looking at different technology stack and how we can leverage those technology stacks to make our customers' life better. Bring the data into life and give them a story, give them a way to actually get an insight out of that data and action on that data. So that's what I tend to focus on. That's where I tend to spend a lot of my time. And one of the biggest challenges that we see in any industry, especially in particularly the industry that the Tahola operates in, that we see
Which
quite
is
a
what?
lot
What
of.
what is the industry y'all are in?
So we are in the hospitality industry.
The hospitality industry, dude. I used to consult and I traveled to Atlanta, Georgia a lot. And I loved the hospitality of the South, man. So just the kindness and the empathy that people show down here. I had to move here, and apparently you've bottled up that hospitality from the South, and you market it somehow.
Yeah, exactly. You've put it really, really nicely. And hospitality is a wonderful industry to be in. I love people. I love talking to people. I love being engaged and being part of a community and group. And hospitality industry is all about people communication, that type of things. It's well, obviously every other industry, everybody's has to consider business side of things and commercial side of things, but hospitality industry always puts the people first before the commercial aspect. So that's why I love working in that industry, and I love working and I love doing what I do.
Nice. And that's I was kind of teasing, but I love how you actually tied it together, right? Because While I think the hospitality industry you work for is more like hotels and things like that, they do need to be hospitable, right? And that's why that
Yep.
industry is called what it is, right?
Yeah.
It could be called the hotel industry, but that's not what we call it.
Well, there's a lot of restaurants, bars, all of those things are involved.
Yep. And how did you get into that?
In terms of getting into the hospital industry or in data, sorry.
Yeah, with Tahola, how did you end up picking
Oh,
to do that? Like you could have done anything with data.
yeah, I could have. And very earlier on in my data career, I found Qlik. And despite, dipping around with so many different technology, I kept on coming back to Qlik purely because of the fact that how intuitive Qlik is, how it makes it so much easier for the users to actually explore their data, play with various different aspects of data and find insights and, bring the insight out and tell a story with it. And that's why I could never move away from Qlik. And there's one point I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and they mentioned, "Oh, yes, um, I know somebody who's actually looking for somebody to lead to build a product with Qlik. Would you be interested?" So we arranged a call, and next thing I know, I'm having a long conversation with again our friend Ross. You met him and many times, and yeah, me and Ross, we had a really good conversation. He explained what he was trying to build and what he's looking for, and it really resonated with what I'm trying to, or what I was looking for at that time. And before you know it, 7 years gone by, and here I am.
Nice. That's nice. I just recently posted on LinkedIn how fun it was for me to prepare and deliver a presentation yesterday for some folks that are new to Qlik and help them understand the associative engine, which is so unique in the industry. And it's hard for me to explain to people how much you mentioned how easy it is for users to explore the data, the responsiveness and performance, while it seems like a feature, is really a value proposition to people. That's
Yes.
people lose track, I think, of the fact that by being able to explore at the speed of thought, you can let your brain keep going as opposed to, okay, I'll need to stop my brain today. Kabir, can you get me another report for next week? And then I'll think again, right? That being able to walk through that is great. And how does Qlik fit so well into the industry that you're in?
And Qlik essentially allows our customer to not just look at static reports, which most of the industry, wider industry is used to. It actually allows them to get away from that static reports and actually start looking at their data,
Yep.
start exploring and build their own insights as the business grows, as their organization grow. And what we've been working on the last couple of years is to actually try to build a solution whereby we automate all of that process for them. So we're not talking about just building dashboards and building reports for them. We're talking about data ingestion to transformation to actually presenting them with AI-driven insights and actions for them to take on those insights.
So
So
when
it's
you
an
say you
end-to-end
automate
solution,
the whole
really.
process for them, you're not talking about dragging and dropping pie charts.
Oh no, we're not just talking about dragging and drop and building your charts. We're talking about the end-to-end solution.
And I would imagine in the hospitality industry, maybe one or two Excel sheets with 10 or 15 columns, right? That's probably more than enough data than the hospitality needs. Is that about right?
Oh no, 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 no! You couldn't be further away from the truth.
No, wait,
There are
they've got a
so
whole
many
bunch of
systems.
disparate data sources.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, they have far too many data sources. You have to think about things like stock management. They have lots of different types of items within the organization.
Hmm.
So imagine if you take a hotel, for example, they would have bar, they would have drinks and lots of other associated items that goes along with running a bar. All of those stock they need to manage. They would have the restaurant where they will have to manage all of that stock for their restaurant, kitchen supplies and everything else that go alongside with it. On top of that, they would have the hotel business where they would have to manage all their bedding and everything else that go with that hotel business. So there's a lot of stock management that goes with that business. Then they will have to have a labor system to manage their workforce that they have. And hospitality sector hires and probably employs a lot more workforce than any other sector right now in UK. So you can imagine there's a really, really big sector with a lot of employees, and they have to manage all of this using their labor system that they would have. Then they would probably have some type of planning system which would allow them to feature plan how many people they would need at a given time on their site, how busy the site may be, and all of those things that they need to manage. And then obviously, as usual, every company will have a finance team, which will probably have tons of software as well as tons of Excel spreadsheet as usual. They can't operate without Excel spreadsheet, as we know. So they would have quite a few of those. So they have all of those disparate data sources, and it's not limited to what I've just highlighted and some of the examples that I've shared. They would have a lot more system than this, such as feedback, and this is where the whole AI aspect comes in. I mean, we all do this, right? If I go to a restaurant, if I enjoy a meal, I would straight away go to their website or I will go to Google and leave them a feedback, right?
Right.
So that way, the next person wants to go, they would know whether that place was good or bad.
Right.
And as a business, as an organization, they need to have a look at to see what type of feedback they're receiving. What is it, a positive or a negative feedback? What does it mean? And they can't physically go through every single feedback. They need some type of summarize version of it to be able to see what's happening, whether their customer satisfaction is dropping, whether their food quality is dropping, whether their staff engagement is not quite there with their guests. So they have to work out all of those different elements from the feedbacks as well. So this is where the AI element comes in, and we know where the Gen AI is going right now, right?
Yeah.
And we
Well, I
can
tell you what,
tap
man,
into that.
after a life of data myself, I'm gonna take a guess. I could build you that system in like 18 months, man. Just sign these documents. I could build this for you in like 18 months. We could have a prototype out, and then we'll go through like 6 months of trial and error. And within 2 years, then you pay me my final payment on this contract. Does that sound like a plan?
Well, I would definitely, if you'd have asked me that question a couple of years ago, that I would definitely agree. That sounds like a plan. But now I can tell you a totally different story. Instead of 18 months, how about if I tell you that we could turn all of this around and deliver something within few hours, rather than waiting for weeks, months to see the first report, first dashboard, first insight? We can do that in less than few hours.
Dude, even for me, that would blow my mind. That for me, that would blow my mind, and that might be why I invited you on. Because there's other people that's gonna blow their mind. Like, wait a second, whoa, 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 whoa. You better put up, man. So it's all nice theoretically. Do you have any slides that you could kind of show us on architecture so that we could kind of get an idea of how in the world you would possibly be able to do this? Because that is mind blowing.
Yeah, sure, of course. I would love to. So let me share my screen. See if I could
Because
share my
while
screen.
you're trying to get that shared, that's kind of the thing of what we want to do, right? It's not we could talk about things theoretically, but it's time to let the rubber meet the road here, and see how you would do this. Whew,
Can you see my screen?
that's a title there, man. That's a title right there.
It certainly is. It's quite a mouthful and quite a long title, but I'm not very much of a slide person. So I'm probably not going to have too much to show you in terms of slide, but I do have a few points, and I think we've already covered some of those points. We've already talked about what it is that we are doing, what it is that we are building, and the product that we are building is called Novus AI.
Okay.
And Novus AI, like I mentioned, is an end-to-end data platform solution and is specifically designed for hospitality industry for the time being. We do have scope and plan for feature to expand into other industry as we grow the product and as we get to know different industry better. But Tahola's strength lies within the hospitality industry. So we thought this is our strength. We know all most of the system that's been used within that sector. So let's go and help our customer in that sector, make their life easier,
And when you
help them
say
save
that it's
money.
kind of built bespoke for that industry, I'm imagining as a data guy, there's data modeling things, and you understand that environment and the terminology that's used, the field types that are used by vendor software, things like that, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And we also partner with a lot of the technology vendors within that sector. So
Okay.
we have direct partnership with them, so that way we can gain access to their data, pull them into our platform, build the data, data model and data marts for them, so that way we can actually build analytics on top of that data.
Yeah.
Makes them, makes our customers' life easier, so they can explore the data with ease, and they can do that using Qlik, right? So that's the idea.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
exactly. So I'm not gonna dwell on anymore on what Novus AI is. I'm just gonna move into why Novus AI. What is it the reason behind us going on that journey, and why is it that we started to build that solution? And the first thing, like you mentioned, if we try to build a system with all of those different technology coming in, data coming from all these different disparate data sources,
Yep.
bringing into one place and bringing one version of the truth, it takes time. It's time consuming. It requires a lot of manpower to be able to put that together. And we wanted to build something that would cut down the delivery time from months to hours. And also we wanted to reduce the overhead. We wanted to deliver their return on their investment as quickly as possible.
I
Hospitality
would
industry.
imagine that your customers like that idea.
Oh yeah, they love that part. And it's the fact that hospitality industry, despite being such a big industry, it has very tight margin. So any savings that we could do for them, it definitely helps them to grow the business and to be able to serve their guests with the best experience they can. Another thing is that we wanted to do along the way is we wanted to make sure that the solution that we provide is not only just automated, it's also tested. So there are a lot of testing happening behind the scenes to make sure that the data is telling the truth. Data is being transformed in a way that doesn't have any bad actors in it. We're trying to
Okay.
remove those elements. We were also taking the approach that we wanted to make the product as agile as possible. So that way, when something happens, anything changes, and they want to build another report very quickly, it was some events taking place that they want to analyze and get to an insight very quickly, they should be able to do that without having to put in a request through to an IT process and taking days before they get a turnaround. And by then, the events is already gone and they've already lost their opportunity to
Right.
actually improve whatever they needed to do. And the other things that involves with managing a data product is usually things like operational challenges that you would have between different companies when you wanted to take data out of different companies. Some company will say, we'll give you data through a gateway. Somebody will say, we'll give you some files. We'll email you some Excel files. There are a lot of challenges, and we wanted
Yeah.
to remove all of those challenges from them, take those challenges onto our shoulder and deal with it, rather than having them deal with that type of challenge. And that means they can focus on, delivering the guest experience and driving the business, rather than worrying about how do we look at our last week sales and how do we focus for the next month.
Nice. And those are the things you'd like to focus on. When I was with the health system, the biggest challenge I faced, right? Like it wasn't about pie charts and bar charts and trying to talk to customers. It was always about the files that partners were FTPing us. Some
Yep.
organization was going to FTP us something, and dude, they didn't always FTP those files at 8 o'clock in the morning like they said they would. And
Yeah.
jobs would be running like all day long. And I'd get to like 2 in the afternoon, like, yeah, sorry, we didn't get those FTP files out. We just sent it. Like, I had 6 hours of things running and the files weren't even there to work on.
I know the feeling very well. I think anybody in the data sector has faced this type of challenges at some point or another. And we wanted to remove those challenges. We wanted to make it as simple as possible for them to actually look at their data, work with it, and get insights, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Well, you certainly can have one. You can sign up anytime you like.
I'll go
Um,
open a business tomorrow so I can use this software.
or I'll be your first customer, even before you become our customer.
There you
Let's put it
go.
that way. And other few other things that we wanted to look at is to make sure the security, because when you're dealing with data, especially feedback
Yep.
data and customer data, all of those things, security plays a great role. We wanted to make sure that it's in a secure environment. And through Qlik's enterprise, Qlik security, right? It's an enterprise grade security. And when you're landing your customer onto Qlik platform, you can assure them that they are getting that best security out there in the market.
That is one of the things, especially coming from the health industry, that was a big win for us, right? The ability for not only to do row level security like so many other systems do, but row and column and any combination of rows and columns was the winner. Well, it was definitely the winner for us in terms of security, and just nothing else can compare for that. So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure that's
Exactly.
important to whatever the business is in hospitality. I'm sure that's crucial to them as well.
Yeah. And other challenges that we see in the hospitality industry quite often is businesses are sending a lot of Excel spreadsheet amongst themselves.
Hmm.
And a lot of manual data handling taking place, and somebody sitting somewhere in a dark office room trying to put together all of the weekly reports into one place for their board meeting on Wednesday, and
Yep.
Wednesday it come in and they're still not anywhere near it.
Yep.
And we wanted to get away from that. We wanted to make sure that they have all the information at the right time at their fingertip. And we wanted to reduce the manual data management that they have in the process and remove all of those flow and automate as many things as as possible.
Nice.
And lastly is the centralization piece. In hospitality industry, we see a business can buy out other businesses, and so when that happens, the acquisition happens. There's lots of different types of systems. So they may have two different ecosystems across 14 or 15 different sites,
Yep.
and that means that it's not. And it's a nightmare for them to actually report from both of them in a unified way.
I
And
can understand that.
and we wanted to solve that problem. We wanted to give them a unified view and also make it easier for them to switch technology vendor in the future if they wanted to, without having to worry about how are we going to report from this EPOS to next EPOS. If we make a switch, then we'll have to consider all of that as a cost. Where with our system, that should be a bit more easier for them to actually make that switch.
Nice.
One less element to worry about for them. So that's what, it's not all of the reasons, but that's some of the main key drivers behind why Novus AI exists right now.
I could imagine anybody in any level of management would see that list and say, yes, those are the things we need. And yeah, if you could take care of that in 2 years, fantastic. But if you can do this in hours, that's a game changer.
You know, I'm glad that you said that. And one of the, I would say this is definitely a success story. You probably never heard of Novus AI, right?
I never heard of Novus AI.
Yeah. And you are not the only person, because we haven't done any marketing whatsoever with Novus AI. And we already have over 5 customers signed up on board using the system. We're still going through the pilot phase. So a lot of the structure, a lot of the architecture that I will show you, a lot of the processes that I will show you Some of them are in production with some of our customers. Some of them are just going through the testing phase, so they're
Okay.
fresh off the oven. Let's put it that way.
Nice. Nice.
We are just baking them into the system. We are still going to the pilot scheme, but because of what it does and how it delivers that solution, everybody's eager to sort of jump on board and give it a go. And so far, we've had really, really positive feedback. Henceforth, we've had customers signing up to it.
That's fantastic.
So let's move on to what you've asked for. You've asked for to have a look at the architecture. So I thought I'll put together something to show you. So this is, in a nutshell, this is what happens behind the hood, under the hood,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
We could have, and we build another element that we have done when we were going to the build process. We want to build everything in a modular base, just like Qlik has gone through that journey. Remember those days of Qlik on Windows to now on Qlik Cloud? We used to have everything under one machine, everything sitting on there. You may have a couple of nodes attached to it, but still, again, is driven in a monolithic base application where now everything is decentralized. Everything has its own module and compartment. So if one service goes down, another one will spin up without having to worry about the whole system going down.
Nice.
And allows you to switch on different services. And that's exactly what we are trying to achieve, is to allow our customer to pick and mix what system do they want to bring data from, what do they want to report on, and what what do they want to analyze at the end of it. So they can start with Zonal is one of the EPOS vendor, Fourth is one of the labor vendors, so they can choose all of those different vendors, different systems.
Neat.
And if they in the future moved away from that system and get another system implemented in their business, they can just choose the module and it will just pull the data in to the system in a unified way and add it to their historical data load. So that way it flows through, it doesn't stop them.
Right.
So that was the idea. We start with the data source and then we ingest all of that data to one of our and Qlik's partner, technology partner, Snowflake. And this is our sort of underlying data layer. And this is where we store all the data, we ingest them, we then create a data mart, and then at the end of it, we create a presentation layer whereby Qlik can report from those ones.
Nice, nice. And I imagine then whatever the data source is, you go through some transformations so that data mart is consistent, right? And that's why you could get the plug and play with data sources then.
Exactly. We have a lot of Python scripts and a lot of SQL scripts that does all of those things behind the scene. Our data engineering team is always working hard to make sure that all of those scripts, all of those are fully tested. They're delivering the high level quality work that we expect to deliver to our clients and our customers. So we're continuously doing that, and we are continuously looking to improve and add new features to it. We're also doing a lot of feature engineering and other things behind the scene. We have very long roadmap for different integration, adding new feature flags and lots of different things for them. So that way, in the future, if customer says, okay, I'm interested to actually build a machine learning model, or we've hired somebody who would be able to actually now can run some really nice machine learning algorithm to give us really key insight or drive some new business opportunity for us, they would have the data ready for them to be able to do that.
Nice.
So that's one of the key differentiators that we have behind the scene that we're working on, and we're continuously trying to improve on that.
Now, how in the world this is good? This is this is what people would expect to have at the end of 18 months or 2 years. How in the world can you do this in hours? Like it's just not going to make sense to people. Like this is done in hours.
Yeah, that only been made possible because of technology vendors such as Qlik and Snowflake. the way all of those platforms been built, those two platforms been built, they are very much sharing the same level of synergies between them, and also they're very highly scalable products,
Hmm.
and allows us to run various operations, various processes in Snowflake and within Qlik. That makes things so much easier for us. And because we know those systems, we know the data coming out of those systems so well, we already had an idea of what customer would want, what type of data model that we've been building on. We've been deploying them for years. Why not just now expand it and make it generic enough to be able to roll out to the wider industry? And that's exactly what we've done with this one.
Okay.
We're not reinventing a wheel. We're just taking what we've done in the past. We're just now scaling that up.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And what is it, but again, what is it that allows you to do it so fast? Because I would think if I'm manually opening an app, creating the app, pointing at the data source, bringing it in, it's going to take me more than hours, right? Even if I've done this a whole bunch of times. How do you actually spin this up so fast?
Yep. So let me take you to the next step to show you how that goes. So this is a typical organization or onboarding journey that any organization would go through. Just like we do for Qlik. For example, if you are the first person decided for your organization that I'm going to do a Qlik SaaS trial, it would go into qlik.com, right? It will register a trial account.
Yep.
And behind the scene, it will create you a new tenant. And voila, within minutes, you land on the tenant, and then we have access to load up data from all your system. And that means you'll have to go and configure the system to make sure that you can access them from Qlik and load all the data in. And once you've done that, you've got to model them and you've got to build your layer, presentation layer, and present them, right?
Hmm.
So we went through that journey, but we also looked at how can we then automate that journey so it doesn't take hours. It only takes minutes to complete.
Man, you're going faster.
Yeah, that's the idea. We're trying to go
So
faster.
so how can it be automated like that?
Yeah, so what we tend to what we've looked at, what we do, and actually the 2 hours that I've mentioned, or 2 or 3 hours that I've mentioned that it takes for us to build this all end-to-end journey, the longest part of it is the data ingestion. And longest part of it is actually not us doing any work, is more like we're sitting there waiting for the data to transfer for the source system to Snowflake.
Okay.
Once the transformation is finished, once the data has been moved over to Snowflake, we have some automated services running there that will automatically run some of the pre-built scripts that we already have in Python and SQL. They will be executed and they will create tons of reporting tables, your ODS layers, and all of those other
Okay.
different things. And they take a matter of minutes.
Okay.
Once all of that is done, we trigger off the Qlik reload process where there's an app already sitting there, tenants already been configured, data connections already been established, all of those been configured during the sign up process. So imagine you going through Qlik Send SaaS account sign up. You would do the same with the Novus AI sign up process in our portal. And while you are going through this, behind the scene is creating a new Qlik tenant for you. It will configure the tenant for you with your authentication, with your own security layer. It will also connect you to the Snowflake instance that we are creating for you, or we have just created for you. It would also upload templated app based on what data sources that you've chosen to include. So there's some templated app that's automatically been uploaded to your tenant for you. It would also onboard any users that you want to add to your organization at that time.
So when
So
you're
you
saying
do
it
all of
does
that
it,
behind the scene within seconds.
so when you're saying it does it, are you using APIs or something? Like it's not a human, like you're not having your son in the kitchen
Oh
hand.
yeah, I've got
Are you using like APIs or something to get all that built automatically?
exactly just that. So we have, I mean, as we all know, Qlik provides lots of different APIs for us to do this type of workload. So we leverage all of those APIs. We leverage Snowflake APIs, and we use all of those APIs to make sure that each system is talking to each other. We have all the relevant information to create and configure all those different settings that we need to, and we do all of that behind the scene. And because we are using API to build all of those processes, they could be done in matter of minutes. They happen so quickly without any manual intervention. There is a very risk of making any mistake because nobody's sitting there typing in the tenant name, or nobody's sitting there typing in the Snowflake credentials. These are all automated process through a secure tunnel. So that way it's happening while somebody's going through just a registration page.
Dude, I love it. That people worry these days about AI coming to take people's jobs. It's not the AI you got to worry about, it's the API you got to worry about taking jobs. Right?
You've
But these are the
just taken the
jobs that
water out
nobody
of my
wants,
mouth.
right? Nobody wants to do the mundane. Okay, here's a list of 100 users. Go add them by hand, and please don't spell any email addresses wrong, or we're in trouble, right? These are the things that's a great use case for APIs. And in case anybody wants to point the finger, API does have AI in it. So yeah,
I love it.
that's
I love it.
I have long since told people, like, when I'm at conferences, like I'm going to be at a Gartner conference next week. Well, tell me what it is that Qlik does. They want to what's in the box. We have no box with our APIs. It's an open box for you to do whatever you want to do. You guys at Tahola just happen to think of how to do it more wonderfully, right? Like,
No,
let's take advantage of that openness and streamline this process. And you guys have a competitive edge then, that
no,
customers or
I agree.
prospects can either see it working in hours or not see it working in hours, right? And not wait 18 months.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, you could sign up 2 hours later, you come back into the portal, you click on your Qlik dashboard link, follow through the Qlik portal, land on the dashboard. Voila, you have a out-of-the-box dashboard. It may not support all your use cases, but it would give you insight into that data within 2 hours. And then after that, you can just start building from there on.
Nice. Now, when you're ingesting that data, right, that full load of data can be quite large. Do you guys take advantage of the Snowflake warehouses where you can say, hey, for this job, I want to use a larger warehouse that will give me more bandwidth, more memory, so that can happen faster? And then within the Qlik application, you're using a different warehouse to do the reads.
That's right, yes. We have multiple different warehouses for multiple different workloads, and we're utilizing that and using that technology in the best possible manner. So that way we are making sure that it's efficient enough. Query runs quick rather than having to wait 10 minutes to load your application because you have a very large data set coming through. We will scale up the environment to make sure that you actually load the data as quickly as possible. And obviously that way you can get on with your task of analyzing the data and getting the insight out of it.
Nice. And then do you handle the change data capture as well? Like, because that source system is going to change after they spun this up in 2 hours. They're going to still be using those source systems, right?
Yeah.
That's not changing.
Yeah, no, so this is interesting. So this part of it is some elements, yes. Depends on which vendor that we're getting the data from.
Okay.
Certain vendor will give us access to the change data capture mechanism, and we will utilize it then. Most of our vendors will actually provide us with an API. Again, we will have some type of processes where we'll only receive the latest information rather than everything every time we're loading the data. So that way the workload is smaller, and that's one of the reasons why we can deliver the solution so quickly.
Nice. And so as that information's changing in Snowflake, yeah, it's all out in Snowflake. Do you take advantage of Qlik's incremental load feature for the merge to be able to just say, hey, now go get me the changes, no matter whether it was an API based or a change data capture based? log-based, whatever agents you might need to use. Your Qlik apps, are you then you're just pulling the changed data then?
At the moment, I believe for some of the applications that we are building, that is the longer term plan. Because at the moment we have a limited amount of reload capacity for our standard users.
Right, sure.
Most use cases requires them to look at data twice a day, reload wise. So
Gotcha.
we are only
Okay.
loading so we don't need to do the incremental logic. In our roadmap, where we'll be looking at webhook to automate exactly what you just said. So every time any data changes happens in Snowflake, it would actually send a notification to Qlik, and Qlik will go, hey, something's changed in Snowflake. I'm going to go and reload all these applications now.
Okay, gotcha.
And he was not going to load a whole lot of, it's the same information again. He would only just do the bring in the what's new, because we have that layer to make sure that we don't bring in the same
Same
information
data
multiple
over and over
times.
and over. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so your industry is a little bit different than the health industry. You don't have a doctor screaming, I just entered a medication 3 seconds ago. I expect to see that in this app.
Yeah, so it's not as reactive. Not all of the use cases. There are use cases that we have in our roadmap where we would have to do something similar to what you've just suggested, but we haven't quite got there yet. Those use cases hasn't really been pushed on our priority list. Once that
Gotcha.
comes in, I'm sure we'll be promoting that workload.
Cool. Cool.
So, okay, I've probably bored you with all of those talk. I wanted to also show you
No, talking
the
about
video.
automated APIs and getting this thing spun up that fast is not boring to me. It could be to some others, and now, even the executives are like, okay, that's old news. Now what do I do? What can the analytics help my business do?
So yeah, a couple of things that we do to help our user is one, we give them a template app out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if they have certain system, they would get an Qlik application for that particular system. We or some of the KPIs that we know, and we know the wider market and the hospitality industry measures and are interested in, all been configured, all in there for them to start looking into and start using that data set. We also give them ability to author their own reports. Now, this is where we started to do things slightly differently. What we've noticed over the years, working with so many different Qlik customers, is everybody has their own way of working, right? You need to give them a starting point somewhere. You need
Yep.
to give them a nice way of working. And we don't expect hospitality users to be, all of them to be data engineers and know where the data model works and how all of those tables are linked and related, right? We want them to make sure that they could still load data into an application without having to know what table to load,
Right.
what information do I need to load. They can still load it into a new application, and they can focus on what they need to do, which is the Insight Advisor, right? Is Insight Advisor create new charts, is other ways of creating charts, whichever works for you. Make the business user's life a lot more easier. And that's what we wanted to do. So we give them a template app whereby they could go in ClickSense, open up the template app and say, hey, I would like to create a new application, put it on my personal workspace, and let's include this data source, and I'm interested into this data source,
Right.
this information I'm interested in. So they can tick all of those boxes, press go. Behind the scene, it will go ahead, create the script from our Git repository, bring in all of the right things into a new clicks and stuff, create a new app for them and put into the space for them and start reloading the data for them.
So
So that way
even
they would have a
so, hang on, man.
predefined
Before
pre-built model.
don't skip over this so fast. This is the cool stuff. So you're not using ODAG, right? Right. You're not like letting them just pick a couple of filters and start a new app.
No,
Like you're capturing these things and then you're using APIs again to
again,
go
yes.
off and build the application, and you're getting the code out of a GitHub repository
Yeah.
that would then end up making sure that any variables that might be needed or things like that, and it would build the right connections for them or reuse the connections that are already created.
Exactly.
That's incredible, man. That's just way out. That's way out there thinking for self-service.
No,
That
and
I think is so different. That is so cool.
we've tried so many different approach for self-service
Hmm.
with different level, different size organization. In an enterprise organization, it makes sense because they would have a lot of resources within the organization. People can learn from each other. They would have training for each of their groups of people, analysts to learn different techniques and different things. Where in a smaller organization like in hospitality, you won't have the level of resource available. They need to get creative and they need to also learn first. And they also need to have something that's simple and easier for them to actually use. And Qlik is the right tool for perfect tool for this. Not just right tool, is the perfect tool for this to deliver that solution. There are elements that we could make it
Amen.
easier for them, and that's exactly what we are trying to do with the Novus AI, is to actually create all of those elements for them and make it easier for them. So that way they don't have to learn how do I then rename this field? What table do I, what column do I need to look at? We try to remove as many of those elements out of their workload and just let them focus on building reports or dashboard, or even just look at their metrics and just work on the rest.
No, I'm all about governance. Lori, you heard me say it. I'm all about governance. And when I first made a transition from view to sense, the immediate thing for me was master measures and having the metadata descriptions right there so that people could hover over KPIs. When you go through and build these APIs, are you actually building master measures that have metadata from your catalog as to what that measurement is?
Yes, so that is, clear answer is right now, out of the box, it doesn't. It
Okay.
just builds the model and gives them a static apps to work on.
So now
It
how would
doesn't
they, if
build
they
all the
were
master
looking at a
measure.
KPI, how would they know what the definition is then?
So definition is done on the data model itself. So if they're looking for cells, we would already pre-calculated the cells field within Snowflake,
Okay.
removing need for them to having to do that on ClickSense. What we are looking to do in the future, and it's on our roadmap, is exactly what you just said. That's the bigger challenge, but we couldn't tackle all of those things all at once and deliver the solution. So we wanted to get phase one, phase two, and so on. And we put it
Okay.
into nice incremental. And the next phase is to actually bring in exactly just that. Allow them so
Bring in the semantic layer and just put it
exactly,
right there. Yeah.
bring in the master library into the picture, so that way, if I choose my ecosystem and my labor system to build a dashboard, then it would also build all of the measures and dimensions that go alongside with those two sources for that model.
Fantastic. Now, for everybody else out there watching, just go ahead and grab a cup of coffee because I'm going to talk to Kabir about something here for a second that you may not care about. Kabir, following when we get done with this Doorcast, I'm going to connect you with somebody else. I'm going to try to get a meeting for all three of us because we were just looking yesterday about how in the world could we have a metric store that could build new things like this that would encapsulate all that, right?
Yep.
Maybe there's variables that you build that are behind these. All of this could be in a repository somewhere, whether it's GitHub or SQL, that you're pulling out of for these APIs. And it
Yep.
sounds like what they're wanting to do and what
Yep.
you're needing to do and what I'm hoping to do, it could come together. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten your cup of coffee. Kabir, you feel free to keep talking, but dude, don't be surprised when you see an email from me like the second we're done here.
No, I'll look out for that email. I've done enough talking. I just wanted to show you a few things now. So I
Dude,
talked about,
I would love to see it.
great. No, I talked about our portal, Novus AI portal.
Right.
So let me give you a quick introduction to Novus AI portal. So this is, I don't know whether it's showing the corner. I'm just going to move it down here so you can see the Tahola logo. So this is what our customer sees when they first sign up to Novus AI. Now, I've just put some random application the customer might be using. So they might be an user of Jedox. I don't know whether you were aware of them. So they're one of Qlik partner as well. They do planning analytics, which is integrated with Qlik.
Yep.
So they might have Jedox for their planning side of it.
Right.
And we also give them Novus AI analytics, which is Qlik.
Okay.
As you can tell, it tells them exactly what it is. Novus AI is powered by Qlik. It also gives them some very easy tutorials on how to get go with Qlik's, Qlik analytics engine, how to use it, how to make selections, how to make filters, how to search application, all of those things. And if they're interested to learn more, if they wanted to say, for example, want to start building their application and they don't know how to do this, they want to learn, they want to get certified, they have the option to just go to the Qlik continuous classroom and tap into that Qlik or what Qlik is providing and build their knowledge on there and get into the Qlik ecosystem.
So this is interesting to me because I was going to ask you about the Powered by Qlik, because Tahola and Novus AI, you guys are actually OEM customers of Qlik. So you
That's right.
bundle in Qlik. Your customers aren't buying Qlik. They're not buying licenses, right? And is part of that OEM deal that your customers then also get access to Qlik Continuous Classroom?
Whatever's free out there, that's all they get.
Okay,
So
they get access
we are
to those
working on
things.
something to sort of build in sort of a bit more a solution for them, a bit more learning solution for them that'll be more catered for their goal and need, and that will be
Gotcha.
whether we deliver that ourselves or whether we do that with partnership with Qlik. That's still to be worked on, and that's something that we are working on.
But I would guess for the type of customers that you're talking about, and this is a shout out to our education department. That's I think it's phenomenal the amount of hours of training that people can get for free so that they can actually understand just how to use Qlik from a user standpoint. I think is phenomenal. I think those classes are perfectly appropriate for your level of customer who's trying to use this and not just be focused as a data geek like us.
Yeah, exactly. And if anybody wants to take their Qlik journey a lot more further and wanted to explore more, we'll definitely put them in that same path that any other Qlik developer would go through.
Very
And
cool.
they can then sign up for the Qlik continuous classroom. They can go through that Qlik journey, get certified, and become a Qlik developer. Why not?
Nice.
There's a wider world out there that we need a lot more of these Qlik developers now than ever.
We sure do. We sure do. I second that.
Yeah, exactly. So you have some videos and things just to get going, just to get you started with. Then you have this little management console area where you can configure this particular section. And this is something we are building on. And so there are about 3 or 4 different features that we are working on, and that would be added to this section within the next few weeks.
Very cool.
So we are working on similar sort of approaches as Qlik do. You have a weekly release cycle, right? We have every few weeks we release something new because our product is so new. Not all of them would be an user interface driven. Some of them would be just behind the scene. You just wouldn't know that it's there. But we are releasing things every other week. We're trying to add more features into it.
Very cool.
At this point, the admin user, so the user that I've logged in with is clearly an admin user. So I have access to things like user management. I have access to the file management, and I also have access to the portal settings. So one key thing to probably mention is we all know that at some point or another, a customer will turn up and say, we have this Excel file. Despite we have all of those different systems, we have this Excel file, we have this CSV file somewhere, we have this PDF file, we need that in our data house because it's crucial to our system. It's crucial for our analytics.
Yep.
We have this budget we've done on a big Excel spreadsheet. We cannot live without it. We need that in the data warehouse.
Yeah.
So we allow them to actually use the file management to actually upload that
Very
information.
cool. Okay.
We also provide them with sort of templates. So if it's a business driver file, that's where the business logic would go. So
Okay.
when we say we want to work out how long it takes you to, what's your average sales per day? What's your calculation for sales? What do you define as sales? What do you define as discount? What do you define as refund? All of those logic can vary from system to system. Also, they can vary from business to business as well because they have different processes, right?
But
So
you're
that's
actually
where they
capturing
can
all
go in
that
and define.
semantic information.
Exactly.
Let them define this is what this term sales means to us.
Exactly. And this is where I was trying to get to when you mentioned about dimensions and measures. This is exactly what allows us to manage that because we captured that from very early stages of the data journey. And that means that our data presentation layer that sits on Snowflake, that we can already account for and cater for and build those layers for them. And if
Nice.
the information, the same information can flow into Qlik, and that way we can use that same logic if we need to recalculate anything in Qlik itself and build those measures and put it into master measures for them and master dimension for them.
Very cool.
Straight away. Going back into here, once they log in here, they would have their Qlik environment. So when they click through it, they would land on something like this.
Okay.
So for this particular user, they belong to an organization called Novus AI demo. So it would create me a tenant in Qlik with that URL, and it would land me in. It will automatically bring me in. It will assign me a license based on what we've purchased or what we've assigned to that particular user
Right.
during the onboarding process, and it would land on there straight. So it's a single sign-on as well, so that way you don't have to worry about signing into the portal and then signing into Qlik or signing into Snowflake. We're trying to elevate all of those. We're also
all
putting
makes
multi-factor authentication, so that way they can make sure that whoever's logging in, they can enable that and trigger that for their users, so that way it's securing their login process as well.
Okay.
Once they land on here, say this particular tenant was created with no data source. I just wanted to create that as a demo. So I didn't pick any data sources and I created that tenant as just a demo one to show you just the template part of it.
Oh,
so when you
man.
create, I've also made sure that the user that I've onboarded this time, that user being actually given the admin privileges so I can show you some of the things behind the scene. This might be a little bit boring for anybody who is not into administration side of things or not interested into it, but just to show you what happens behind the scene when we create a new tenant, we're not just creating another tenant with some random names. We are also changing the display name, the alias of it. We are configuring all of those different settings. We're creating API keys for various other operation. And we are also configuring the email side of it so they can get notification and alerts.
Wow.
And we're on top of all of that, we're also creating the IDP for them so that way they can log in. So we're configuring whole bunch of stuff. We're also creating some spaces for them. And you can tell all of the owner is actually a application driven. It's not an individual user as such. So we are all of this happening behind the scene and we are just doing all of that for them.
Man.
We just don't stop there. We also create some automation. Why only tap into one part of Qlik when we can tap into lots of different parts?
That's exactly we need to quote that and share it with a lot more customers.
Yeah, and you know how much I love Lego, right? Why build Lego the same way the instruction tells you? Why not just change it? You know, change the game, change the red piece with yellow piece, and
Yes.
put your twist to it. And that's exactly what I like to do, right? If I'm building a model, I never follow the guide. I always change the Lego pieces around just to make life interesting. So exactly just what we're doing here is we are using some automation and also where we can and where we can do with automation, we are using them some scripts behind the scene that would use the API to create some of those for me.
Nice. And for those who haven't used Qlik application automation much, it's a drag and drop, low code, no code type of environment to do workflow. And the really cool thing is you can export them as JSON, and then you're able to just go through an API and say, here's my JSON. Now build me a new one from that template, that thing. So that's how you're able to get these things up and running probably in seconds.
Exactly. And
Very
what
cool.
these automations do is some of them back up things in GitHub, some of them will bring allows you or gives you the ability to restore from GitHub if we need to.
Right.
It also creates this Tahola import automation and triggers it automatically. So this is the first one that we create using API. The
Right.
rest of it are actually done by this one. So this one will actually go ahead and fetch other updated version of those automation from our GitHub
So
repository and
you
update.
build the first one and then you run the first one through a call, through an API call, then it builds the other
Yeah,
ones on the fly.
builds the other ones for us on the fly.
Dude, you're next level, man. You're next level.
And the reason behind all of this is we wanted to create a dynamic application that would have link for this automation embedded into the application that we create
Yep.
our
Okay.
customers. So when I say an application that has linked, so let me just go back. So that would create this application for me. And if I open this
Okay.
application now, I have not manually changed anything at all. I've not actually done anything with this application. And I've just added this box for your reference so you can see it, what it does.
Okay.
And I did that in our GitHub repository, committed there, so it's uploaded a new version of it. But as you can tell, it already has an URL that's configured for this tenant.
Okay.
Now, that's not manually created, that's automatically dynamically been injected into the application.
Yep.
When we created the application through the automation,
Yep.
it's added all of that for us, created that for us. And this is where I was talking about, we give them a template whereby they could add different module, as in like different data sources, and bring in all of that data sources into a model. And so they can focus on not building the data model, but building the dashboards. So for instance, this example, I don't have any data sources in my database right now. So this is why we went with these options. So for example, I want to include subroutine in my new application. I wanted to create a new application called Tahola demo app. I'm just gonna add
Click Dork.
yeah, there you go. We'll leave it blank so it goes to my personal space. I would include all of those different tabs. I may want to change, maybe, no, I like all of them in. So I'll leave all of them. So you would bring in an application with all of those different elements attached to it. So imagine this could be a name of a data source.
Okay.
All of those could be name of different data sources, and you can just pick whichever you want. And then press, I should call it rather than
Dude, I'm
should call
still
it something
blown
else.
away. You've got an app automation that creates another automation. You got that new automation's ID. You create a new app and you put a button in there that uses that automation that you just created.
Now, when I pressed go, it's not only just created a new application for me, it's also opened the application and landed me straight onto the application.
Okay.
So this is a fresh application that didn't exist when I was
2 seconds ago. Yep.
2 seconds ago when I was here.
Yeah.
Now I have two. I have the Tahola template app,
Look at
And
that.
there you
Beautiful
go.
play.
Good job.
That's a collector's item right there, man. I don't let everybody use my name like that.
I will collect it. Oh, don't worry, I will save that off onto
You
GitHub
make sure when
repository
you
for
see
future.
Armand after we get done talking, you tell him he doesn't have an app with my name on it.
I definitely will tell him. By the way, he said hello. So in here, we've said let's add on those um, elements to our script. We
Okay.
ticked all of those different boxes, right? So imagine those boxes could have been script for each of those data sources.
Yep.
That could have been either single table or could have been multiple table, could have been the full data model itself. It could be
Nice.
anything we want in the script. So if we go into the script editor, now you can see there's a naming standard tab, tells you how to manage your naming of different files, tells you a little bit around what this
Yep.
app is for.
So
And
you
you
do
have a
build that out with
change.
variables. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Then you have all your variables in here, some of the variables that drives various things. You have your include script. If you have any you wanted to add in, he also brought in some subroutines to allow us to save TBD files into a location somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Some
gosh. I love it.
connection details, how to access them, some extract example what you can put in there. That could have been a whole lot of SQL statement using a data connection that we would have created if we would have
Sure.
picked the
Sure.
data source
Yep.
and exit script. We don't need to include a bind just for the completeness sake of it.
The only thing I'd probably add to that is put a couple emojis in there for fun, man. But there's no that's boring
Yes.
text, man. I like my emojis in my comments.
Do you know what? There will be some green emojis in there soon.
There you go.
I'll
There you
make
go.
sure it does have some.
Yes,
So that
please. Please
so
do.
that's what it does, and it makes it a lot more easier for our users to actually now then get the data, load it in, and then start working without having to worry about how to build the data model, what table or what do I look for?
Dude,
And
that
there's a lot of possibilities. In
yep.
future, we can expand this more, allow them to
Yeah.
search through a field and choose a field, and we can automatically, based on the field, we can say, okay, so if they want to analyze this particular information, then we'll build this model for them because that table, that model will actually have all of that information for them.
Gotcha.
So,
And the way you're architected for each different type of system or things, it could have a bunch of other stuff that you would already have blocked out.
yeah, exactly.
One of the biggest changes for my career when I started using Qlik was I had always thought, oh, this is a new app. I need to do something completely different, right? A completely new app.
Yeah.
And one of the best things that ever happened for me was my boss had suggested, hey, maybe you should just start building some templates that we will use. And that was the biggest game changer because then it was like the sections you had. You're always going to need a section to define your variables. You're always going to need a section to do this, and you're always going to need a section to do that. I was like, man, yes, I always do those same things over and over and over. Right? Start with that template. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And there you go. That's what the automation looks like as well. So it's going through various elements, various loops, and
Yep.
picking up the right elements and picking that up.
Now, if they
One
have a
thing
Git, maybe the company has a GitHub and maybe they don't. Do you let them use their existing one if they already do, or do you actually go create a new GitHub on the fly as well?
we create a GitHub repository on the fly as well.
On the fly. Come on, dude. What are you trying to
And
get
that
this to
includes
happen before
all
I
of
even tell you I want to sign up? It's already pre-built. Like, what are we doing?
the reason why we do all of those behind the scene is we wanted to make sure the customer A's data, their scripts, their environment, everything is in silo. It's separated away from customer B, customer
Yep.
C, from
Gotcha.
security perspective. So that way there is no chance of us by mistake making a change that should have just gone to customer A, gone into customer B, for
Yep.
example.
Yeah.
So we're separating that element out from day one.
Yeah. What I love about this whole idea, Kabir, everybody in our line of work always says, we want you to focus on your business. You should focus on your business. And then we end up making it clear, okay, now you need experts in this. And we overwhelm them with all that technical stuff of, well, look, it's not magic, man. It's not like your data is just magically going to appear on a screen. There's all these things you need to do. And you guys are basically destroying the industry saying, no, look, I can magically just have it ready in a few minutes for you. And it will just magically appear on a screen. And you can really, this is the serious point. You could really focus on your business and not about that data pipeline and not about all the millions of things we have to do to govern it and make sure it's quality. You guys are really trying to automate that in and let your customers actually focus on their business and not worry about the myriad of experts they would need otherwise.
Yeah, no, exactly just that. And another key thing that you mentioned before about governance, and the security and the governance plays a key sort of thinking behind everything that we're building. We're already considering what type of security do we need to put in and where do we put in.
Right.
The idea is to giving them access to upload business logic file and all these other different business driver files. One of them would be their section access,
Yep.
which will not only be applicable to Qlik Sense, also be row level data in Snowflake.
Snowflake as well. Yep.
So that way, it would be very hard for them to break. And
Dude, I love it. I love it.
so that's that's the motivation behind building this. Obviously, a lot of the items that I've showed you today are very fresh. We're still working through it. Not everything is production ready yet. There are a couple of elements that we need to still go through and make sure that it's passed all our tests. But most of the journey, 90% of the journey right now is the same journey that all our customers are taking right now. Couple of manual bits that we are going
Yep.
through as a checkpoint because we wanted to make sure the first few customer we are manually triggering that on rather
Right.
than automatically triggering that on. So we've deliberately put a stop to the full end-to-end delivery of that process. We've added some checkpoint in GitHub that would stop it from going to the next stage, and it will stop there, wait for it will create a pull request and wait for somebody to go and validate it.
Very
Because
good.
we are still at the early pilot stage, we want to make sure that
Sure.
stops. We check before we do something.
Very cool. Do you want to
I
stop
would
sharing your
rather,
screen?
yeah, sorry. Sorry, what did you say?
I figured we could just finish up talking here.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Stop sharing. It's great.
That way on people's videos, our faces are bigger than up in the
Yeah.
corner. So this is fantastic. So if people like happen to watch this and they're in the hospitality industry, how would they reach out to you, man?
So they can always go to
We can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
They can always go to tahola.co.uk and register their interest through our website. They can always reach out to me directly via LinkedIn or via email if they choose to, or they can reach out to our sales team through our website.
Nice. And there's others watching are like, oh shoot, I'm in the health industry. I'm in the finance industry. I'm in a payer provider industry. It's got nothing to do with me. But man, that dude is smart. How would they just reach out to you so they could see the things you're writing and learn from you in general?
They can always have a look at my blog, which is carbonline.net. They can also follow me on various social media platforms that I'm active on. So I'm active on Twitter and LinkedIn. They can always reach out to me directly if they have any question. As you know, I love sharing ideas. I love sharing knowledge.
I
So
know
if
that's
you have
right.
any burning questions, by all means, just ask. Ask away. The only thing I could do is say, no, I don't know the answer to it. Or I will tell you exactly if I know how to achieve that or how at least it can get close to what you're trying to do if I know how to do it.
Nice. Now there's there. One second here. Sorry about this.
It's okay.
A friend of mine always calls when I'm perfectly in the middle of something. So there's a lot of people out there who are like, I'm familiar with Qlik. Maybe they even started with Qlik View, right? They're familiar with Qlik Script. They moved to Qlik Sense. They were familiar with Qlik Sense, and they're like, man, I just don't like these API things. Why would I have to learn APIs? For those people out there, what would you tell them about that journey?
I would say, yeah, don't be scared to try out something new. Don't be afraid to try anything new. API sounds like some magical something somewhere along in the cloud that we don't know how it operates. We don't know what it's doing behind the scene. But you would only be magical and it would only be unknown to you till you actually have a look and see what it does. And it's actually as simple as just writing any SQL script. There are documentation out there. There are a lot of material out there to show how each API works. And for Qlik perspective, Qlik API is very well documented. Qlik.dev would give you all of the information that you need to get started with the APIs. And within minutes, you probably will be able to test some of those API functionality on various different API tools out there to explore you, allow you to explore that API capability of Qlik.
Yeah.
I mean, in our organization, we use Postman quite a lot for exploring APIs and understanding how they function, how they operate. We have a bunch of, I mean, Qlik offers a Postman collection as well for certain operations, so you can always get them. And if you are somebody who is quite seasoned and well versed in developing stuff and writing codes, there are lots of libraries that Qlik produces, Qlik Dev Team produces that you can actually tap into. So you don't have to write everything from scratch. They have done the hard work for you. You have to just incorporate that into your code.
Nice. And I mean, it looks like automations were a big part of what you were doing as well.
Exactly. So that's other part of it is if you're really, really afraid to get into API side of it or you don't have the time, don't worry. Jump into automation. That's what it is there for. And I know we've been told that every time Qlik creates something new, new features, they also creates an API for that particular feature. And it may not be generally available straight away, but it will be available at some point for all the users to be able to tap into that feature and use it.
Absolutely. That's and for those, yes, Qlik Answers APIs are coming. They're about to be public. We intentionally keep things private as we're making changes so that we make sure we internally work out the bugs. We use our own sauce. We use the APIs to do everything that we do. We just keep them private a while so that we make sure we can work out kinks. So fantastic. So for people out there that look at this and see your templated approach, and they're thinking, but I like doing everything by hand. What is it that you think for developers this templated approach allows them to actually to do maybe even better than what they can imagine them doing now?
Two things comes to mind straight away: efficiency and speed of delivery. I like to do everything from scratch, but I never start any programming project without a template, because that template saves time, and more time I would spend typing code, less time I would have to deliver the end goal. So idea is to actually cut down the time and amount of things that I have to type by using template. And that's where we are probably seeing the rise of things like Copilot.
Yep.
They're allowing us to speed up the delivery, cutting down all the bits, the manual bits that we keep on repeating over and over again is taking that away and making things modular, making things easier for us, and also producing us with the templates so we can quickly fill in those templates and get something quickly out of the box.
Yeah. And that's I mentioned it as we were talking and you were sharing your solution. To me, it's what you guys are doing, right? We say it's about our customers. If we're in IT, yes, we're a customer, a Qlik, but the business units are our customer, right? The ones that we're
Correct.
doing the data movement for are our customer. The internal users that we're building a screen for or new KPIs for, they are our customers, right?
Right.
If it's really about them, we want that same, we want to be able to have a similar approach, even internally, to where we're trying to let them start playing with their data faster, right?
Yeah,
Let's not have to
exactly.
make them experts in what it is we do and convince them that we're the world's rocket surgeons. Let's get the data in their hands, right?
Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right, buddy, I'm going to give you a final word before I shut things down. What one magical, dreamy, genius thing you like to say to the world before you go, man, while you've got the platform?
I knew you were going to say that and put me on the spot. Mm, One thing I would always say is get creative, ask questions, and just get your hands dirty. Always try to improve what you have, hone that skills down, learn more, ask questions, and keep on doing that. And it would go far.
That is a brilliant
That's
thing.
when it comes to data.
Yeah, that's a great thing, and man, that touches my heart because, dude, I feel daily like I put my self in situations to fail every day. Not always easy, sometimes humbling. As I'm getting older, sometimes I'm worried, like, okay, I'll never solve this problem. I always end up solving it, but there's times I feel
Okay.
like I don't. Kabir, thank you so much for taking your time, dude. I can't believe you gave up the homemade snacks for Fika. They're there in the Qlik office.
I'm hoping some cake been saved
Dude,
for me
it's
some.
cold now. It's dried out. Nah. Fortunately, they've got a whole bunch of gummy Swedish fish there that
Yeah, I saw them.
share you those instead. Um, be sure to say hi to everybody in the classes, man. I admire what y'all do. I admire that, you bleed green, gray, and white, just like
We
me,
appreciate that.
and that you guys are so open at sharing what you do, right? You're not
Yeah.
trying to protect your role or your dollars that you can make by keeping your genius a secret. You're very open to sharing it with the world. And I know everybody else who's there in those offices is doing that, man. I appreciate y'all.
No, knowledge is power, right? It sounds like a cliche, but that is what it is. Knowledge is power. And if you share it, all you're doing is just increasing your power more. But you learn only by sharing. If you hold on to something, it will not going to go far.
True that. Well, on behalf of Kabir and the Qlik Dork here in my Data Cathedral studios in sunny Gainesville, Georgia, hope that you all have a great, great day.